Hello and welcome to the latest video and podcast from Fantasy Football Scout as we look ahead to game week 24. My name is Joe and today we'll have a look to see who is due a goal or an assist according to Fantasy Football Scout's goals and assists imminent tables. As usual, I'm joined by Fantasy Football Scout's deputy editor Tom Freeman. Welcome, Tom. How are you?
Yeah, I'm okay, thanks, Joe. Bad game week. No Foden, no Richarlison, Solanke captain, but lots of points to be had, I think, in the next kind of 2 or 3 game weeks with doubles and blanks. So trying to remain positive and stay positive, but we'll see. No.
Definitely. Some people in the live chat have joined us already. Can you just let us know that you can see and hear us? As usual, I can't have any playback function here. Already, Reedy is pessimistic about what time the stream starts. He's guessing 13:06. Ha ha ha! It was in fact dead on 1300, maybe 13:01, depending if your watch is fast or slow. But we're usually on time. I think probably other more tardy podcasts. But we're all fine. Kaya in the live chat says we do see and hear. Yeah, all good, says Jason. Abd has joined us as well as Lee, Attaboy, Tony B, and many more. Thanks so much for joining us. Remember that we have a live Q&A at the end as well. So what we're going to do is we're going to have a look and see how we got on previous tables. And we'll also have a look at the important bit, who is due a goal or an assist this time around. Then what we'll do is we'll take some questions. So have a think about them towards the end. I'll sort of do a prompt a bit later as well. But so don't put any questions in now because I'll never find them in the live Q&A. Just before we go on, just remember, do press that like button and do remember to subscribe as well, so you can keep up to date with all our latest videos and podcasts. Have a look at fantasyfootballscout.co.uk for latest members offers as well. I've got another plug as well. Hang on a sec. This is a new in. Right, there's the FPL meets go on around the country, around the world indeed, where people get to meet in real life who are interested in fantasy football. Often these involve going down a pub and watching the games. But the one in the southwest is a little different this time. And this could be the first one where we are meeting up in Yeovil, which is a first. So we try and go to different places in the southwest. Yeovil's next up. That's home of Andy in Scoutcast. But also, as well as going down the pub to watch the games, United versus Everton, we're then going to go and see some real life football. The mighty Yeovil flying high in National League South against Welling. That's right, the local team of Roger Moore, Kate Bush and many others. So we're actually going to go and see the game and then we're back to the pub for some more football televised. So that takes place on the 9th of March. There's a slight caveat in that Yeovil game might be cancelled, but we hope it's not. And that's because Welling are still in the FA Trophy and they take on the mighty Barnet, who are flying high in the National League. But so if they can manage to beat Barnet, which is probably unlikely considering the difference between them, Welling are quite low down in National League South, then that game will be cancelled because there'll be an FA Trophy match that day. So unfortunately, that'll be postponed. So fingers crossed, we're all Barnet fans at the moment. But even if we can't go to see the mighty Yeovil, the Glovers in action, complete with Frank Nouble, of former West Ham player, up front. If we can't get to that, then we'll just stay in the pub and watch those of football. Okay.
Sounds good to me.
It sounds good. It's a good one, and it's very exciting that we're going to Yeovil to have a look at the array of wonderful places in the southwest where there's lots of fantasy football fans. Okay, let's move on. See how we got on last time out. Okay, a goal's imminent. So, well, I mean, it's the story of the week, really. It's just mega returns for players. And a lot of those players were benched because a lot of them were unexpected returns. And also, as we're coming up to the blank game week in 26, the doubles in 25, we're starting to sort of get rid of those bench players, aren't we? And we're getting other players in that unfortunately we're going to have to bench. Amazingly, lots of people benched Foden last night. And I personally benched Garnacho 16 points. Others, I've seen Kuna on benches as well. Pascal Gross has been on some benches. It's almost like you can win in the game week, but your bench, I mean, there must have been bench points on pretty much most people's bench there. So, I mean, have you known a game week like this where so many hat tricks, so many mega hauls from unexpected places?
Yeah, well, I think that the strength of our squads has probably increased because of Haaland being out for a while and Salah as well and Son. So we've had this influx of money, haven't we? So everybody's squads have been strengthened. I mean, bar Garnacho, who's what, 4.8 million still. Well, some of those players who are being benched between 6.5 to 8 million, something like that. So it's hurt me previously. I think a few weeks back I benched Palmer for his haul at Luton. And yeah, I mean, I can see why some people. It's easy to look back on it now and say, why would you ever bench Foden at Brentford? But people have got very strong squads and there's big decisions to be made each week. And I just think, it's frustrating. But you've just got to kind of think, well, at least they're already in my squad, these players, and they can come in next week and hopefully get some more points.
Yeah, I mean, that's the way I look. I mean, I did a tweet joking that I was because I had Foden in my squad, so I'm happy with that at the moment. But at the time I wasn't, because I had Garnacho's 16 points. So I was thinking Foden's never going to get near that. So I was joking that I was going to travel all the way from Somerset and try and cause some kind of minor injury on Phil Foden, and ended up being like one of my most sort of liked posts for a while. I get, which probably highlights why so many people have bench points. And they were hoping injury to Phil Foden, not serious though, but just little. But in the end, he beat that, which is the story. Story of the game week, really. If it wasn't him, it was someone else. But yeah, points all round. But yeah, back to the table. Haaland back in action, and he got an assist. I think there were 12 saves that Flecken made, which is the second highest I know of. I think there was a 14 saver from a goalkeeper one time, but that's absolutely huge. Haaland was responsible for some of that. Alvarez, I think, had 4 after about half an hour.
He did.
I think you don't own Haaland, do you? So you
not yet.
You must. Yeah, that must have been quite scary, that game.
Well, not owning Foden either. Yeah, I mean, I went into that one with De Bruyne and Foden. De Bruyne and Alvarez. So that you mentioned it then. To begin with, Alvarez was actually getting some quite good shots from just outside the box, and I thought that was where the space was last night. More so, Haaland was up against 3 centre backs, and he played more minutes than I thought he would. He played 86 minutes, I think, and he had that big chance in the first half, didn't he? Which Flecken, of course, saved it. He wasn't that involved, Haaland, I don't think, but Haaland is often like that, even when he's at his very, very best. It's not unusual for him to not be involved and then pop up with a goal. And he didn't get that goal last night, but he got the assist. Captaincy's probably taken care of now for the next couple of weeks, isn't it? I would have thought. And I'll certainly be getting him in if we hear he's starting, which I'm sure he will do at Everton at the weekend. I'm just going to the point about bench points. Quite a few people in the live chat are already sort of sharing their tales of woe and joy there. So Field FPL, he benched Gross. Attaboy benched Odegaard, so he's a bit happier. Lennox, this is a good one. Lennox says he was so nervous about benching these players. He hit the bench boost, which in a single game week takes some doing. So he did that. He benched, amongst others on his bench, was Foden and Moreno. So he got in total 46 points. So especially if that was Flecken as well was included, absolutely huge. Unfortunately, Michael has said he sold Gross and Kuna and benched Garnacho. I mean, that's bad luck in threes there. So interesting to see what happened. There's a hell of a lot of points transferred out, a hell of a lot of points transferred in, a hell of a lot of points on the bench. Unfortunately, it wasn't one of those weeks where there was lots of rotation, which I think we could have all have done with getting us. I mean, I saw some absolutely huge scores when kind of going through X last night, and I saw 100, and I think I saw one of 120 something points, which is 70 something more points than what I had. A really bad week. I think I got 50. So you just and which at the time you're kind of really down about. But if you've fallen that far within 1 week, you can get back up that quickly in 1 week, especially with all the doubles coming. So yeah, disappointed. But I think you can, looking at the fixtures, you can probably make 30 or 40 points back if everything falls for you in one game week.
Definitely.
So it's lots to play for still.
Yeah, I mean, I got 74, I think it was. So I got a almost a grey arrow for a small red of 400 or so places. But that shows that I'm fairly typical in that I did hit some hauls, Foden and Watkins.
Yeah.
But obviously missed out on Garnacho, and I didn't have Richarlison. So if you could have 4 of those, for example, or if you had Cunha as well, you're looking at well over 100 points during the week.
Yeah, and the captaincy was quite split again this week, wasn't it? And for those who went with Watkins at Sheffield United, you obviously got that mega haul. And but yeah, there's plenty of time left to kind of catch up, I think.
Yeah, and with Haaland as well, what was interesting that Haaland, he was 100% effective ownership, which meant this is a rare time when his effective ownership isn't like getting on for nearly 200%. So you could actually get some rank gain from him. Unfortunately, it was just an assist. I suspect his ownership's going to be a bit higher at home to Everton next week.
I think so.
Myself and Tom will discuss our teams in a bit more detail in a separate video, and that should be going out on Wednesday morning. I was going to do it, or Wednesday evening, at some point on Wednesday. Probably be Wednesday morning. No, it'll be Wednesday morning, definitely. Just realised, because the Scoutcast is tonight. It was meant to be last night, but all way too lazy. So they're all going to be doing it Tuesday tonight instead. Okay, Wilson's next, Newcastle. He's sort of back in the frame now. Gordon could be injured. Isak could be injured. Wilson's back. And we know from these tables, I mean, the fact that he was on the goals imminent table, last 6 matches he played, everyone's going to be thinking about double game week players, but they're going to be ignoring the likes of Trippier and Wilson. Wilson's got Nottingham Forest, then Bournemouth, then Arsenal, Wolves, Chelsea, Crystal Palace and West Ham, right up to game week 30. It's actually quite a nice run. But immediately, Nottingham Forest, I mean, Wilson could end up with a hat-trick this week, couldn't he?
Yeah, I mean, he played 45 at the weekend. He came on for Gordon, didn't he? He twisted his ankle. After the match, Howe spoke about Gordon, and then he also said that Isak, he thought he was going to be back soon. Okay. So that's just something to keep in mind. Mm-hmm. But we know, like you said, Dan, we know what Wilson can do if he's handed minutes. He tends to return. And I think that Forest match is really good for Newcastle, especially for Trippier, you mentioned them, because Forest concede a lot of goals from set pieces, but Wilson wouldn't surprise me if he becomes a factor at some stage between now and May.
Yeah. Next up is our flurry of goals. So we've got Trossard with Arsenal, got a goal, and he's often on this table because he's really good in the limited minutes he gets. So he usually does score, and he usually hops off the table in a good way because he perhaps score a couple of goals from a couple of sub appearances. But once again, people aren't going to go there, are they? Because Arsenal don't double. And Trossard's not nailed on. But if you're risking, if you like a risk, and you think Trossard's going to get significant minutes, chances are he's going to get you a return. But next name's interesting. Cunha, who some people might go for, not necessarily this week, but soon, within the next few weeks. I mean, he obviously scored a hat trick. Neto and Hwang was the FPL couples of the season so far. Then Hwang's absent with Asia Cup duties, and then Cunha has sort of taken that mantle really. But Cuna's been chipping away with points anyway. But yeah, he's really been going. I mean, he's been in my Sky team for a while. Still there. No, yeah, he's still there. I still haven't got rid of him, just because other moves happen. But every week he keeps scoring. So perhaps I just got. I need to think not to remove him. But anyway, Wolves, they got Brentford up next at home, good fixture. Tottenham away. Tottenham concede frequently. Then he does play crucially in 26, and it's a beauty. Sheffield United at home. That's captain territory, I would say, with Neto and Cunha. Then you've got Newcastle away, then Fulham and Bournemouth at home. It's a really good one. I mean, I'm quite tempted. I think I can see myself with one of Cunha or Neto in my team, just because there's such good value as well.
Yeah, I mean, there's going to be a few options because Hwang will be back by that time as well, and we know what he can do earlier in the season. So they're all going to be putting their hands up really. But Cunha's been doing it for a while now. He's got 7 goals and 5 assists in his last 12 matches. In that time, no forward has outscored him
Yeah.
in the game.
Yeah.
Nobody at all.
Wow.
So he's been doing it for a while. He's been consistent. He's playing off the left a little bit now, but it isn't affecting him. He's getting into the right positions,
Yeah.
which O'Neill spoke about after the match. So yeah, I mean, I've been looking at Wolves and I'm considering Ait Noure as well, who's been doing well as a wing back or did well at Stamford Bridge anyway, popping up in some great positions. So yeah, Wolves not for me right now. I'm focusing on the double at the moment, but after that, blank game week 26, they might start
Yeah.
to see a few transfers and then.
Yeah, I mean, if you look at, say, I mean, and now we have to consider things like the captaincy as well. So, I mean, Haaland away to Bournemouth, you would think would be the sort of favoured captain, but there's definitely gains to be made. Watkins at home to Nottingham Forest. If Eze is fit for Crystal Palace at home to Burnley, and of course Neto or Kuna or Hwang if he's back at home to Sheffield United for Wolves 26. So there's, I mean, the sorts of variants we've seen this week could happen again in 26. But yeah, Kuna definitely, I'm definitely keen. Asula for Sheffield United. I don't think many people go there, so we'll sort of skip over him. Odegaard at Arsenal. I'll just dwell on him because he's still in your side. What's the plan with Odegaard then?
Well, I benched him at the weekend. It was quite a close decision between him and Jota. It didn't make any difference at the end, but I did bench him. I think I don't mind holding Odegaard now, depending on what happens with Chelsea and Villa tomorrow night in the FA Cup, because Arsenal could play in 29 against Chelsea. So if they do, that's another reason to keep hold of your Arsenal assets. The only problem for me is I need to. When I do the team reveal video, I'll talk it through, but I need to make some money to get either Solanke or one of my other forwards up to Haaland, and Odegaard may end up having to be sold. But I wouldn't mind keeping him. I think he's been really unlucky recently. I thought he looked really good against Liverpool. It was his pass that Havertz missed, and then Saka scored the rebound. And it feels like he's been doing a good bit of points dodging. But I think he's a good hold.
Could have been an assist easily.
Yeah, and then he normally gets bonus in the way that playmakers do, because he created a couple of big chances, I think, in that one. So decent option. Would be happy to hold, although I might have to sell this week.
Tavernier Bournemouth is next. Bournemouth are quite a tricky one. So they do have Fulham up next, but then they've got Newcastle in 25, whilst there's double game week players to be had. And then 26, when you need them, they've got the worst fixture, Manchester City. So, I mean, I look at that and I think, well, if Solanke is going to have to make way, I think, but I will want him back. His next set of fixtures from 27, he's got Burnley, Sheffield United. I mean, 2 promoted sides back to back. That's great stuff.
And that could be the double there in 28, which has been talked about. So if they come out of that City game and they've got Burnley away and then a double game week with Sheffield United and Luton at home, you take all 3 promoted sides in a row. And so everybody's going to want him back. Everybody, I think, will probably captain him that week. And so it is. I'm faced with that decision. It sounds to me like you're considering selling Joe, are you? And then getting him back potentially. I'm probably going to do the same.
I mean, I'll talk more about the team reveal, but I mean, there's obviously a lot of players. I mean, I'm in a lucky position. I've got KDB, Foden, and Haaland. So City, I don't have to make money for. I don't have to worry about. They're just there. But I don't have any Liverpool, so I want to get some Liverpool players. And I think Solanke will go either for Darwin or probably he'd go to in order to sort of downgrade a little bit, free up a tiny bit more money, and then what I can do is then turn him into something like Kuna. And what ideally what I'd like to do is get Kuna in as a sort of a make weight for a couple of games and then back to Solanke again, because Kuna I think is better than Solanke over 25 and 26 because he plays Tottenham, who are very leaky defensively, and then Sheffield United, which is one of the best fixtures in 26 from a limited schedule. So I really like that. And then switching back to Solanke. So I'll see if that makes sense, but that's something to consider there. But so Tavernier's next, Bournemouth in general, but he seems to have lost his place. Is that right? I mean,
Yeah, he was a sub, and he came on for Semenyo's back from AFCON now, and he played at the weekend. There is a lot of rotation in those wide spots at Bournemouth.
Okay.
Areola's got options. He's got Sinistera. He's got Kluivert. He's got Tavernier. There's lots of options. So I think it's Solanke from that Bournemouth attack that you want to plug into, albeit after a poor display at the weekend. I don't think he had a shot, but generally he's going to be fine.
Rightio. Alanga's next for Nottingham Forest. Once again, people aren't going to go there, but Nottingham Forest fixtures are pretty poor at the moment. They got Newcastle, then West Ham in 25. It's okay, but then they got Villa 26, Liverpool 27, then Brighton, Luton away 29, and Crystal Palace. So a bit mixed, really. Alanga's still good, I think, but enabler really. So I don't think people go there.
No, they've got Awaniyi back now, which helps. Yeah. They've got Awaniyi back now, which helps him for his assist potential. But like you say, fixtures aren't there.
No, and Pereira as well with Fulham. A lot of people won't go for Fulham. But the fixtures are good though. I mean, Bournemouth at home next. Then Aston Villa, Manchester United. But then they've got Brighton, Wolves, Tottenham, Sheffield United. So they've got some weak defences there, of which Brighton and Tottenham and Sheffield United are amongst them. So Pereira, he's chipping along nicely. He features a lot on these tables and then drops off, but in a good way. He's often involved. I mean, it's almost like we were interested in him last season because he was 4.5, and we're not interested in this season because he's 5.5. But he's still good. He's still a good player.
Yeah, I mean Fulham are interesting now because Jimenez is out and they bought in Broha, didn't they, on their transfer deadline day. So once they can integrate him and he's fit and he can get in the team, that might help players like Pereira, who takes a lot of set pieces. I like Willian too, as penalties.
Yes.
So there is options. It's just when you've got these blanks and these doubles, you tend to be focused on those teams who are going to play additional games who aren't going to blank. So going for somebody from Fulham now probably isn't on people's things to do list, but that doesn't mean to say that some of these players can't get points.
Indeed. Odegaard is top of the assist imminent table. It didn't deliver. Next up though is Pascal Gross. He benefited from Pedro not starting, which meant that Gross I don't think Pedro started at that game. I can't remember. He came on.
I thought he did.
He was
I thought he did. I could be wrong.
I could be wrong as well, because whenever I see him towards the end of a match, it's usually like he's come on.
Look, it was Palace, wasn't it, at the weekend? So,
if you can double check that.
He got the 2 assists anyway, didn't he?
He got 2 assists. So he got 2 assists. So Pascal Gross had, but he basically had a more of an attacking role. Yeah. And when he does, he's such a master of the assists. But he's not going to do that every week. So that's why he was benched, and that's why you're going to miss out on those hauls. And that's why he's quite a tricky player to own, but he's also a great player to own. So he's away at Tottenham next. Could easily get a couple more assists or a goal in that one.
And Tottenham defending set plays at the weekend against Everton. They were undone by it a couple of times, so Gross could be an option.
Yeah. Brighton. And then they've got Sheffield United in 25.
Excuse me.
So he's an option there. And then he's got Everton at home. I mean, Brighton's fixtures, they continue right up until 28, really, when they got Nottingham Forest at home. And then it's the sort of double fixture of death at 29 and 30, City and Liverpool. Although I think the 29 fixture won't happen. That'll be a blank. So it's even worse than what's worse than playing Man City? Not having a fixture at all. So that's highly likely to be blank, because you would have to have a bizarre turn of events for that not to happen.
Correct.
Okay. Doku, I would have said he was almost a captain candidate in the previous week, home to Burnley. But he didn't even get on the team sheet this time around at Brentford as well. But the last couple of matches, I would have thought he was good. So rotation risk, really. People are going to be looking at Foden. They're going to look at Haaland, KDB. Doku's probably not on the list anymore, is he, for people?
No, I mean, it wouldn't surprise me if he exploded in one of those double game week. I'd feel more comfortable getting him in a double, because he might start one. But I do think that Foden, who had this really interesting role last night where he was quite central, but he kind of took Doku's place on that left side, at least his starting position. So for Doku now, and you've got Grealish, who was apparently fuming at not starting last night. And so you've got to think he's going to be he's going to want to be getting back, and he's going to get some minutes over the next few games. So Doku feels like a very risky buy at the moment, but one all the same, it wouldn't surprise me if he gets 60, 70 minutes in a match. We know what he can do.
Yeah. Apologies earlier. Of course, Pedro did start. It's because he lasted so long, and I'm not used to seeing that. He was substituted.
But he played with Ferguson, didn't he?
Yeah, he did. That's why I thought I was like in my head for some reason. I thought, was he? But he was just behind Ferguson and Buonanotte as well in the mix there in the attacking roles. But that sort of system, Gross and Gilmour were together, so Gross got forward a bit more for the assist potential. And Pedro lasted right up to the 88th minute when Lallana replaced him. So that's quite rare for him. Usually, he doesn't actually get that long.
Just while we're on Brighton quickly, Joe, Estupiñan, should owners be worried?
Yeah and no. So okay. All of our teams at the moment, we're chock-a-block full of good players. We're benching points left, right, and centre at the moment. I'm going to be benching. Transferring Estupiñan out is not a priority for me.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna bench him anyway. He'd always planned to for 24 at Tottenham, and then I've got the option of playing him in 25, but probably double game week is going to take precedence there. And then for Everton, he's got Everton in 26. Should I be worried about starts? It goes in waves with. Obviously, Estupiñan is a great player in not just in fantasy terms, but in real life as well. And De Zerbi was critical. I think he was hauled at the half-time mark. He was critical, I think, some of his passing. But he's done that before with Pedro as well, and now Pedro's playing. And he does it just to get players better. If he answers does what De Zerbi wants him to do in training, we'll see him back again. If he doesn't, so it depends on his temperament. Is he someone who will listen to a manager? I suspect he is. And so I think he will be back. I'm not too worried, but I'm not playing him until 26 anyway myself. And if he is benched for that Everton game when we really need him, then it's time to go, because within that group of 4 fixtures after that, he blanks in 29, and then he's got Liverpool in 30. So it's just not worth keeping.
And Lamptey obviously came in and did very well, but he's not going to play every match, is he?
No, he's not. No.
Got Matoma coming back as well, who I suppose could do that left side role. But at least Estupiñan has shown that he can be flexible in terms of his position. He can play that left-sided centre-half role. I'm probably going to do the same as you, Joe. I think I'm going to bench him, see what happens at Tottenham, and then kind of have another look at that in 25. Yeah. It does feel like it could be rash selling him now if he's back in the 11 for those good games to come. I'd want him.
And I also get the sense with the wing back system is because the 2 best wingers, well, the 3 best wingers are either injured or were involved in cup duty. So Matoma and Adingra, and also Solly March is still out. So because of the lack of wingers, he's been going for that wing back technique, and so you're having the likes of Pedro not really as a winger or anything, just behind the central striker. So I think with all of those back, I think we'll see 3 up front much more. I think it'll be Welbeck or Ferguson, Adingra, Matoma. I think that will be more normal.
And then you'll play traditional fullbacks.
Yeah, and then it'll be 4,
which could help Estupiñan.
Yeah. I mean, I might be wrong there, but my assumption would be that he's simply Zerbi's been adapting the system to who's available. There's no proper wingers really.
I think he's spoken about that as well, hasn't he? And saying that the attack isn't functioning quite like you would want it to. So you can imagine after having not being able to play for wingers so long, as soon as he can, he's surely going to go back into that pretty quickly. Yeah.
So I think they will. Almo's pointed out that João Pedro has played 90 in 5 of his last 8 games in all competitions. That is, but only 80, under 80 only once in those. Yes, recently he has been getting that. I'm just talking historically, but also that includes the cup games. Pedro has been the go-to man in the cup games, particularly.
And we've got to start thinking about Europe again. Soonish. I don't think you're till March, are you? But did you? Yeah. So we've got a bit of time, but Pedro was always, I remember he was always favoured in those Europa games, wasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. I think Pedro's a really good option though at the moment. Okay, Luis at Villa, another assist. He ticks on really nice, isn't he? He's the analytics guy. He just boring, but just gets the job done.
Well, penalties, set pieces, and if he can pull out those passes like he did at the weekend, which I do think was superb. I saw some people kind of criticising the Sheffield United centre-back, but it was just a really good pass. And he maybe could have intercepted it, but did really well. We've got a few injury problems. I mean, Powell, will he, won't he, every single week? It just seems to be going on. And the latest is that Consa's going to miss a few games, I think.
Yeah.
Now, that doesn't help us in games, although it might mean we play on the front foot more, needing to score because we're not going to keep clean sheets, and that would obviously be good for somebody like Dougie. But he's done really well this season. He's surprised me.
Ogbene next for Luton. There's a double game week coming up. I think he's 4.9. He's got around 90 minutes, I think, in his last 3. There's a wealth of attacking talent at Luton at the moment. And Ogbene in the mix, a great enabler, I think. If you can survive 26, you're not too stocked up with 26 blank players. I think Ogbene is, as the same with Neil Maupay at Brentford, I think are really good enablers because at least they're playing twice in 25.
Yeah, I'm looking for a midfielder this week around about the budget is about 5.3 million or 5 something like that. So Ogbene is obviously a forward, but I am looking at Luton players like Ross Barkley and things like that. But Ogbene, I think he's a great player. He's really, really quick. He is playing wing back in this current system. So he's a forward, but he's playing as wing back, which might put off some people, but he's getting returns. And Luton are so front foot at the moment. They've just gone to Newcastle and scored 4. There's Adebayo as well, who's leading the line for them. So there is options at Luton. I'll probably put Adebayo a little bit ahead. Yes, Ogbene is a good player.
Yeah. Ogbene and Doughty have been the wing backs, but so Kabore usually has that role, but Kabore's been away with AFCON duties. So with Kabore back, that might influence Ogbene's minutes, I presume.
Maybe, but they've been playing so well recently. Edwards might be loath to switch it up. I'm not really sure about that one. But Ogbene does have other places in that team that he can play because he can play much further forward as well.
Okay. Alvarez led us down with the assist, but not for want of trying, as we've spoken about. Robertson at Liverpool didn't start. I've got this one right, didn't he? He didn't start. That's presumably fitness being out so long, so that makes him probably a no-go for double game at 25, doesn't it?
I think so, yeah. Gomez didn't really work at the weekend. They played Alexander-Arnold as a traditional kind of fullback. He was really wide, and Gomez inverted into the middle. And it's got to be a fitness thing, though, because Robertson could play that role. Yeah. But it's a bit like Trent. They're easing him back in, aren't they? He got brought off on 57 at the weekend. Yeah. Yes, the team weren't playing that well, but it was, Klopp said after the game, it was fitness. He would never plan to play for 90 minutes. No. So, I mean, I own Alexander-Arnold. It seems silly to sell now, but I'm not sure if I'll buy him just this week. I might wait to see what happens against Burnley. No, Bradley obviously came in and did ever so well.
Yeah, and Bradley had a family bereavement. I think it was his father died. Yeah. So that's why he wasn't playing. So if we assume that he'll be back at some point, it could be in the double game week. Yeah, Alexander-Arnold's minutes could be curtailed with the League Cup final coming at the weekend, where he'll be presumably needed. Willian, you mentioned at Fulham, same thing as Pereira, really, about Fulham. And Eze at Crystal Palace, just a reminder now, Elise, did I read this right? Elise is now injured for a while. And
we believe so. Yeah, 2 months is the rumour going round. Not confirmed by the club, though.
Okay, but Eze is currently okay, or?
No, he's got a hamstring problem. He missed the game at the weekend, but I don't think it's as serious as Elise. Okay.
Yeah.
But certainly the suggestion was last week that he would miss a couple of games. So let's see what Hodgson says. Okay. But maybe his appeal is dented a little bit without Elise anyway available. So
blimey. So they're playing Chelsea. So that is the chance for Chelsea to finally win. But at the same time, I mean, I think one of those managers is probably going to be sacked. I think, because I can't see Crystal Palace doing much without Eze or Elise.
No, they're desperate. I mean, this is what happens when you've got smaller. No disrespect, but when with the bottom half teams, if you lose
it
like
is
a couple
Palace,
of your
so,
key players,
so feel free to
I
be
mean,
disrespectful.
If you lose your two, there's not many kind of players that can produce a bit of magic at Palace, and if you take both of them out of the team, I mean, the team just looks. To me, championship level when you take those two players out, when you look at the quality of the attacking players that they've got there. And it's desperately unlucky to lose both of them. You've just got to hope that Eze can get back. But yeah, Hodgson's under pressure. Pochettino's under real pressure as well. So, it'll be an interesting game. You really don't want to lose that, either of those sides.
Well, it's a good thought to leave last week's catch up on that Crystal Palace are now basically a championship side. I think that's being kind. But Pep Talk has joined us in the live chat. Afternoon, first time joining us live. We just joined for the main bit. Goals imminent table. This is the latest. Who is due a goal in game week 24? Remember this guy, Haaland. Okay, yeah, he is top over the last 4 matches he has played. He obviously had 3 starts because he was subbed in one of those, but he's had 12 shots inside the box. All of his shots have been inside the box. 3 have just been on target. So he did miss a sitter last night. Actually, he's had 4 big chances, missed all 4 of them. I am really proud to say he's still in my team since December, and finally I can play him and captain him. So yeah, that's it. Haaland. You're going to get him in by hook or by crook, I presume.
Yeah, I was just looking at the games, and because obviously it's a while ago. This table covers matches before the injury, and I'm just looking. I was thinking, he didn't score against Villa, did he? And he didn't score against Spurs when he got the 2 assists. Yeah. So that's why he's on this list. Yeah. But yeah, I think I'm going to have to get him in. Yeah. I mean, it's not fun watching matches without Haaland, and so yeah. Whether or not he comes into my team for Solanke or Alvarez, I'm not quite sure yet, but it'll be one of them. And his you spoke about his effective ownership earlier was around about 100%. It's going to be closer to 200, I think, by the time we get to the deadline. Weekend. Yeah,
definitely. I mean, from an ownership point of view, if you don't captain him, you've effectively got Haaland playing against you. That's the way it is. And he's at home to Everton. Speaking of which,
have got just a very quick one. They have got a Champions League clash coming up against Copenhagen.
Yes,
but I don't know how much you can read into that game. I think you've just got to get Haaland, and I'm sure they want to build his fitness back up now. So.
Yeah, definitely. I think so too. And it's a very different injury to the one that, say, Kevin De Bruyne had.
Yeah, indeed, yeah.
With Haaland, it's more of a case of if he's pain free. And the fracture is healed, then he's just going
to play. It obviously has, because he played 86 last night, hasn't it? So.
Calvert-Lewin's next. Speaking of Everton, 2 big chances, missed them both. 12 shots, all 11 inside the box. I mean, these are pretty good stats actually. He's underperformed by around 2 goals, and this is sorted by XG Delta, which is basically underperformance. So he has got no goals over this period, but he should have got probably 2 over the last 4 matches. Once again, people aren't going to go to Everton. We've got Man City next, obviously. Then Crystal Palace, then Brighton and West Ham. So it's not actually a bad run, but I mean, people just aren't going to be interested in Calvert-Lewin. I'm not going to be able to sell Calvert-Lewin to anyone, so I'm not going to bother.
No, he's on a goal drought. Yeah. He hasn't been clinical enough all season. I think no forwards underperform more than him. He got the assist at the weekend. We thought the goal drought was over, and then it got adjudged to be his assist. So he did get a return, but there's probably 10 of the forwards ahead of him at the moment in FPL, I'd say.
Yeah, Wilson, we've spoken about. It's all to do with minutes there. We know what he can do if he can get the minutes, but Isak could be back. He's had 9 shots, all of those inside the box, just 2 on target. No goals over the last 4 matches he's played, but he should have got at least 1. Pascal Gross is next. We've spoken about him. He's had 2 big chances, missed them both. Should have got a goal over this period, over the last 4 matches. He's nailed on to start. 10 shots, 6 inside the box. So he's famous for his assist potential, but it's actually his goal threat which he can get that. And he's got Tottenham up next. So it would not surprise me to see him on the score sheet. Not just an assist. It would not surprise me to see Pascal Gross scoring in this match, especially the way Spurs are with set pieces.
Yeah.
They seemed to in the last game. There was a lot of talk about the defenders targeting the goalkeeper, and when I
Yeah.
was listening to the commentary on the radio, it sounded like they were basically bullying and attacking him. So I didn't actually see that, but if
Yeah.
that's the case, then Pascal Gross will be a certainly assist potential, very strong in this game,
Yeah.
but got goal potential too.
Yeah, I did an RMT on the site on Friday, and a lot of people, because of the strength in their squads, were either selling Gross or benching him. But I think, okay, he blanked a couple of times after a lot of people moved for him when they were looking for Salah replacements and things. But he's a good player playing in a good team. And I'd think I'd play him. I wouldn't sell him this week. I'd play him at Spurs, I think. It wouldn't surprise me at all if he gets a few points from that.
Definitely. Bowen's next. Now I've highlighted Bowen not because I think people should get him in. He's got Arsenal up next, and then Nottingham Forest, which is better. Then Brentford, Everton, Burnley. So he's got some good games. I flag him up because he's on this table, and so I've highlighted him because he's had 9 shots, 8 of those inside the box, just 1 on target though. Should have got at least a goal over this period. I've seen Bowen in quite a few squads, and I've seen all those wanting to get rid of him. I think I was talking to FPL General yesterday, and I think he is considering Bowen out because there's other players like Jota, for example, or if you want to free up some funds. So Bowen is the sort of make weight, but once again, I think he could come back and haunt those who ditch him this week. So yeah, I think he is literally on this table. Goals imminent.
Yeah, I think he's missed Paqueta, hasn't he? He's been out for a few weeks now. I think he's had 4 blanks in a row, which has coincided with Paqueta being out. Of course, Kudus, another key player, was away for a few games at AFCON. He's back now. Once they get Paqueta back and they can get Ward-Prowse into that number 10 role, which I think they will, I think that Bowen will become a much better option. But he needs that creativity, and he hasn't been getting that. West Ham have really been struggling. Moyes spoke about it at the weekend. He said the left side, since Paqueta has been out, they just haven't been able to get it right. Yeah. That affects Bowen's supply line. But he's missed a couple of good chances in that time. And it wouldn't surprise me that once they can get that first choice 11 back out, they'll improve and he'll become a factor again.
Next 2 names on this, Casemiro and Fernandes, Manchester United. Big price difference, obviously different roles in the team. Fernandes had 10 shots, just 3 inside the box and 2 on target. Casemiro, 9 shots, 6 inside the box. They have been ticking along with returns. Manchester United are improving.
Yeah,
they're young, as those like me that bench Garnacho will know. They've got a young, very good attack that's gelling now. And they've got very seasoned old pros behind them, like Casemiro and Fernandes. So it just stands to logic if they're going to score, like someone's got to assist them. And it's looking like these two could be there. So they're on the goals imminent table. But Manchester United, I don't know how I feel about them. They've got such a big bag of fixtures. They've got Villa next. Then they've got Luton in 25. But then Fulham in 26 at home. That's a good fixture. But then Man City, and then Everton and Sheffield United at home, and then Brentford away. So they've got a real mixed bag of fixtures, and we'll probably be looking elsewhere. But the time you mind, I think FPL Chai, who we've featured on videos before, he's like 11th or so. Well, he was. I mean, he hovers around sort of top 3 and top 20, but he's right up there. And I think he got Fernandes in. I think he did. Apologies, FPL Chai, if you're watching and it wasn't you, but I'm pretty certain him, at least a manager.
Captained him, did he? Yeah.
I think it was him that got him in, and it's a bold move, but it's a very sort of analytics type role move because he's just involved in assists, so he's going to get bites. But anyway, Manchester United, they're looking better now, aren't they?
Oh, yeah, for sure. And the good thing is for players like Fernandes, who always puts up the creative, if you've got players who are actually going to finish those chances now, which they are, Haaland looks much better. He's confident. Rashford coming back in. You've got Garnacho. It actually looks like a pretty good, decent attack they can put out now with Fernandes in behind. Yeah. So, but again, are you going to go for them? Well, they've got 2 tough away games at Villa and Luton. I would say Luton away is probably could be a tricky fixture for them. I'd probably be more happy to own Garnacho for this run, I think, and given the price difference. rather than somebody like Fernandes. But yeah, they are looking much better now. No.
Ogbene's next. We've mentioned him. Just worth mentioning his stats here. Still goals imminent. 9 shots, every single one of those inside the box. 6 on target. These are really good stats. There, he's only 4.9. He's got a double in Gameweek 25. So yeah. If you for some reason don't want to go for the wonderful Alfie Doughty, Ogbene could be a really good shout for a cut price option there in Luton. Assists imminent. Who is due an assist? So some of these names we've already mentioned, so we get over them. Odegaard's top. We mentioned him. You were saying these look better. These stats prove that he's looked better in the Arsenal attack. 13 chances created, a couple of successful crosses. He's got no assists, but should have got getting on for at least 1, maybe 2 assists over the last 4 matches. Ogbene is next. We've mentioned him, but he's created 8 chances, 4 successful crosses. So he's on the goals imminent table, assists imminent table. We've got a double game week next, in 25. So get you Ogbene here. He looks great. Next name, Salah. Right, now we have to discuss him because last thing we saw, he's actually on the grass and moving. He's created 11 chances. He is what he is. He's a goal and assist guy. He's on penalties for Liverpool. We all know that. He's had a price drop or 2. If at the press conference ahead of Game Week 24, Klopp says Salah's looking better, I hope to give him some minutes in 24, and then he does indeed get some minutes in 24, what would you do then for ahead of 25?
I probably wouldn't get him in, only because I think I'll captain Haaland regardless. So it would involve now quite a bit of structural and quite a few hits in my team to move things around. I think, and given the timing of that League Cup final, which is only a few days after the second fixture, I think I'd probably say I'm going to leave Salah and I'm going to focus on Alexander-Arnold, Jota.
Yeah.
And not go for them. I say that now. Look, if he came off the bench at the weekend and looked incredible, given my rank, which I've dropped a bit after last week, I might, could I go for a differential? But I don't know. That Liverpool, that second fixture worries me a bit. I know they've got to get the job done, and with the Premier League title race, they need a win. But it's just the League Cup fixture coming so close to that. Salah's fitness, we don't know where it's at. What would you do? Have you kind of penciled? Have you got a move in mind, or?
Yeah, I mean, we'll talk about our team reveal video in a bit more detail, but in essence, if I'm faced with that situation where Klopp says, "Yeah, I'm hoping to get him minutes in 24," and then he does, that will influence my decision ahead of 24. See what I mean? Even before he plays. If Klopp seems okay that he's going to get some minutes, 24, I can get him in, but it would involve ditching Saka.
Okay. So then you would have De Bruyne,
Haaland and Salah.
Yeah. But you haven't got Trent. You haven't got Trent, have you, at the back? Yeah. So that's
So I'm faced with irrespective of whether he's back or not, I can either get. I mean, how much of Liverpool do I go in on? I could get, I guess, Alexander-Arnold and Jota, maybe Darwin Núñez.
Where are you at with the rest of your blank? What have you got? You've got Alfie Doughty, haven't you?
I've got Doughty, Palmer, and Porro. And Porro, I'll probably look to move on. I think. So I've got 3 already. So I can't get too much investment. I could go for Alisson, and it's been mooted. Yeah. It's a really good way of getting a double game week player in 25, who is then. You're fine for 26 because whoever your sub goalie is can come in.
Who should play twice as well in the double, which we can't say that for everybody else.
No, and I think he will. So I'm very tempted to just do that. But as really a team, I was playing around today and I realised I've got exact money to do Garnacho to Jota, just like that. It'll be 0.0 in the bank.
Okay.
I could just do that.
That's after the price change, is it?
Yeah, that's after his price change.
Okay.
I didn't even contemplate that I would do that, but it would involve. See, the caveat with that, we're giving a bit of a spoiler for the team reveal video, but the caveat with that would mean I have to bench someone who's really good. So is it worth it? And if I don't do that, just go with that Alisson route. So the really long way, the really short answer I should have given. If I think Salah's going to get some minutes back, I'm going to get him for 25 somehow. Okay. And that's probably going to involve Saka out. And it's going to involve some sacrifice. But I will do that because it's Mo Salah in a double game week. As FPL General would say, I'm not going to overthink this.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, well, let's see. I mean, the only picture we've seen is him on grass. We don't know if he was running fast on that grass or what he was doing. It looked like he was a slow jog, so he might still be. Yeah, I mean, I was going to say before the game at Arsenal, and probably still now, I don't think they need to really rush him back. I think they're going to have enough to beat Burnley at the weekend with Darwin, Jota, and Gakpo and Diaz and. So there probably isn't the need to rush him back really, really quickly unless he's totally ready. But yeah, let's see what Klopp says again at the weekend and then take it from there.
Definitely. Cook at Bournemouth, not going to dwell on him, but it's worth mentioning he's had 18 corners and 7 successful crosses. Something to bear in mind when Bournemouth have a double game week, perhaps, for Cook. Ward-Prowse at West Ham, probably same reasons with Bowen, really mixed fixtures. But worth pointing out, he's had 12 chances created, 12 corners, 11 successful crosses. These are really good stats. Should have gotten at least an assist over this period. I've seen Ward-Prowse in a few teams and he's been ticking along with points. So he's been a good differential.
And Ben Rama leaving as well means that he could hold on to penalties now. So if he's playing that number 10 role once Paqueta gets back, which I think he will, if Phillips can settle and start performing, he should take that deeper role with Alvarez, and then it could become a factor.
Kangi has pointed out in the live chat quite rightly that Saka's got Burnley in 25. Yeah, so could haul there. Yes. Oh dear.
And Sheffield United a couple of weeks after that, and he could have a fixture in 29 as well. He
is literally my only route to get Salah in, so I have to weigh that up. For other people who don't have De Bruyne, then you're faced with that choice really. De Bruyne or Salah basically is going to be the main choice for people. Alexander Arnold is next. I could get him in straight away for Porro. From my team. Other people have already got him in their team. Other people considering it. I don't know if I'm... I say I'm not that bothered when he gets 28-point week in game week 24. But for 8.5 million, 8 chances created, 7 corners, 8 success crosses. Yeah, great stats. But I don't know about the minutes in the double game week. And that's why I'd be getting him in. So
that's the one thing. I've got no concerns that Trent, when he's on the pitch, will do well. But it's just that how much are you going to get for him? I don't think there's a guarantee he starts against Burnley at the weekend. And then you've got the double game week, and I can imagine he'll start one and probably be benched in one. And that's a lot of money to be spending on somebody that isn't nailed. So I kind of completely get that.
Yeah. Louise is next. We've mentioned him. Still here. Still trucking along with his goals and assists. He'll pop off the table soon because he is really good at getting goals and assists. He's got a goal, he's got an assist. All it takes is one more goal involvement and he's off these tables. 11 corners he's taken. Just a reminder, everyone, do put some questions in the live chat. We will answer those in a sec. Good to see. There's some questions so far, so I'll keep those in mind and I'll go through those when we can. Eze's next. We've mentioned him. Currently injured, could be back soon, not sure when, but he's just a reminder, he's created 11 chances, taken 14 corners and 4 successful crosses. And Kulusevski's next name on the list, 7. Problem with Kulusevski is that Richarlison's the main draw if you're going for an attacker at Tottenham, and then they blank in 26. So I can't see anyone who's engaged with the game going for Kulusevski, but and especially he's sort of at the bottom of his table. He's sort of not really that impressive. 7 chances created is good, but yeah, it's Richarlison or bust, or if you like me, without Richarlison. Have you got Richarlison in your team, by the way? Can't. No. So I mean, I feel it's too late because of the blank and other double game week players. And it's annoying because he's one of the highest scorers over the last 4 or 5 weeks, but that's just the way it is.
I mean, I think it's hard to bring a Tottenham player in now, and Kulusevski is below Maddison and Richarlison, isn't he, in the pecking order? He was a sub at the weekend as well. But yeah, it's hard to go for Spurs players now. I think most people are probably thinking maybe take one out if you've got a couple, and then look after
Yeah.
27 when the fixtures improve to maybe getting another one in.
Yeah, definitely. Okay, let's answer some questions from the community. I'll go right to the top. Oh, I can see a question mark. Someone says, great question, FPL Bateman. So I'm going to go forward up a bit so I can see what this great question was. Okay, what are our thoughts on Bradley if he's available again? For Gameweek 24 on the double, could be gold at 4.1 million. I'm very tempted. I'm not sure what I'm going to do yet. I do want a Liverpool defender. I'm probably going to go the Alisson route. I can get Alexander-Arnold, but I probably won't go there. So Bradley will be my next port of call. I think he'll get one start in the double.
Yeah.
And I think that's quite realistic. So it's whether I want that. But for 4.1 million. But then he does blank in 26. So it's possible I won't go there. But yeah, great value. I don't think his performance the other day was one-off. I think, he's going to be a good asset. As Alexander-Arnold was when he was unknown and was a good asset. And when he was mentioned by Mark on a famous Scoutcast episode, and I'd never even heard of him at the time. Only Mark had heard of him, and he just come on as a sub for Liverpool.
Yeah, I mean, he made a massive impact, didn't he? And he came on and he looked excellent.
Yeah.
It's still very early days for him. He's not going to perform like that in every game, but at that price, and you would probably think in the double, he's more likely to start the second game, which is the better game, which is the home game against Luton. It's just whether or not you can, if you wanted to get him in, you are probably only going to get one start.
Yeah.
And then you've got to weigh in the bench in game week 26.
Yeah.
Can you put him on there without it hurting the rest of your team, and to ensure you can still get 11 players out? So there's quite a lot to take in. And to be honest, the fixtures aren't great. I don't think if Liverpool blank in 26, then they come back and they've got City a couple of game weeks after that. Yeah, I'm not totally sure it's worth. I would probably favour getting an attacker in over Bradley, I think.
Yeah, I mean my two. I mean, as someone who doesn't have any Liverpool and a bit of money in the bank, but not loads, I'm really looking at Alisson or Jota, but hopefully both. And I might just, if I can go into the double game with both of them, I'd be quite happy if I can do that. But yeah, I might go for Bradley if needs be, if need be. But I prefer the others who are a bit more nailed on. Just going down the list again. People noting Bene's on the list a lot. Kaya, would you own KDB or Salah if fit for game week 25? Well, I've already said don't overthink it. Salah, double game week, get him in. However, I already have KDB. So that's quite tough for me. My instinct is if Salah plays in 24 and looks okay for 25, 2 starts, I think I marginally prefer him over KDB. But I think KDB is good for a longer period and he doesn't blank in 26, and you've got to factor that in. So that is a tough call.
Yeah, it's very team dependent. It's because having a City players, I think, is a priority because they play in 20, they double, they play in 26.
Yeah.
De Bruyne looked really, I think he's looking really good. He played 90 last night, so his fitness is a long way ahead of what Salah, where you want him to be. And for that reason, I think I just don't see. I don't think Salah will become a factor for 25. If I'm being honest, I might be completely wrong on that, but unless he gets kind of 15, 20 off the bench at the weekend, and I don't really see that happening, then I don't think he will be the factor that we would want him to be, I suppose. So I think that De Bruyne now, 3 home games in a row now, Everton, Chelsea, Brentford, plays in 26 at Bournemouth. I'd probably put him a bit ahead, I think.
Okay. Simon asks, what are our thoughts on targeting double game week assets who aren't long-term holds versus just focusing on the basics of form and long-term fixtures? So an extreme example of that is something that he was quoting that Az and Sam gave in their video last week, which was they mentioned Rodri. So, for example, Rodri probably, yes, would be a great double game week option because he'll play both. He's got goals in him. He's got assists in him, and he could get bonus as well. So, but he's possibly not as good as some of those other Manchester City players. I would say definitely not. However, you could go for long-term assets. So we mentioned Neto earlier and Kuna and there's Hwang coming back. Long-term, yeah. So I suppose the essence is going for sort of a lesser Man City or Liverpool player that, you know, is not like KDB or Foden or someone, just a sort of a lesser one at the expense of perhaps far better long-term pick like Neto, who's only got one fixture in 25. Yeah, that's a tough one to answer, isn't it?
Yeah, I'm not so keen on Rodri as a pick. I mean,
No.
the appeal with Rodri is that he's nailed, but we're getting other nailed players at City at the moment anyway. Players like Foden are playing week in, week out, and Alvarez has still managed to keep his place in the team. I think he will probably be due a rest soon, but so yeah, I think Rodri's a bit of a waste. And if you gave me a choice between Rodri and Neto, albeit with City having one extra fixture, I'd probably still go Neto.
Yeah, I would as well. So I mean, the essence, Rodri could be anyone, I guess. You know, any of those sort of secondary players from teams as FPL assets. Kaya asked thoughts on Lamptey. Needs to free up money. I'd go for Van Heck myself if I had a blank slate, because he's definitely going to play. Lamptey will get rotated. Estupiñan could be rotated as well, but I think those sort of wider roles will be rotated more. Lamptey definitely will. He just won't be able to start every match.
He's very hard to play. I think you had him earlier in the season, and it's difficult because you never know if he's going to play or not, and then he can come on as a sub. I'm not too keen on that.
I got him in when he was fit. Within 60 minutes, he wasn't. And then 2 months went past, and then I got rid of him. And that's what you're probably going to be faced with Lamptey. It's just track record of fitness. Could get lucky, but I would probably, if you're going to go for a Brighton defender, go for Van Heck. I would just throw. I would go for a Luton or Liverpool play, even though they blank in 26. If you go for one of those cheap ones, Bradley, for example, could get you more points, I think. Masulani says start Palmer or Bernardo Silva this weekend. Same thing as this weekend. You got to bench a good player. I mean, my instinct would be to bench the guy who's not on penalties, so Silva. But he could easily get a double-digit haul at home to Everton. That's a tough one.
I mean, it's the early kickoff. We might get a leak pre-kickoff, pre-deadline. Sorry, so we might know if Bernardo's going to play or not. Because obviously Europe becomes a bit of a factor now. But I think, given the state of Palace, knowing what Palmer can do, I'd be tempted to play him ahead of Bernardo.
Yeah, I would. It's just he's on penalties. He's the talisman as well. If Chelsea are going to get any returns, it'll be from him. Ashawara, do you think Porro points will be reduced with Maddison back? And then would you do Porro to Alfie Doughty or roll this week? I would I would consider doing, if I didn't have Alfie Doughty, I would consider getting him in now. It's now or never, really. Because he's got Sheffield United at home and then a double, and he does blank in 26, but he's got Manchester United at home within that double. Manchester United are one of those teams that are quite poor with set pieces. Alfie Doughty is on all the set pieces. So I think I would definitely consider that, but I don't think his routes to points have been markedly reduced with Maddison back. I don't know, you've probably been monitoring the corners and things, but Porro's still been taking quite a few corners, I think.
Yeah, he has. Yeah, he's been taking them all.
Oh, well, there we go.
He's certainly in the last match. I think he was on all of them. Yeah. So, but he hasn't been quite as influential, I don't think, in the past couple of games. But I mean, Maddison's going to see more of the ball now. Porro took on that creator role a little bit because there was a lack of creativity in midfield. That isn't the case now. So his influence might diminish a little bit in open play. But I still think he's a good option. The problem is, though, with Porro is he has to get attacking returns because Spurs aren't keeping clean sheets. And there's a lot of pressure on somebody to be delivering. He's not going to get an attacking return every single week. So you're going to have to be prepared for he will go on runs of 2 or 3 games without getting anything. So you've just got to weigh it up now with that blank. I'd be more than happy to play him against Brighton and against Wolves. But if it means that you're getting your team in place for 26, then maybe you do sell him.
Yeah, I mean, depending when you got him in, he's quite a bit of cash. You can free up, $1 million 1.5 million.
He's
or
a lot
so.
of money now, isn't he? Yeah, he's close to 6, isn't he?
Yeah, and I'm looking at sort of downgrading him a bit, or perhaps using other players to upgrade him to another player I'm looking at is Van Dijk at Liverpool. I think
like him.
Goal scoring centre backs are quite good in double game weeks, and they can end up being. I mean, I've got Stoke tinted glasses. I still think back to the Huth and Shawcross days.
Shawcross,
definitely.
Yeah. Well, we've seen John Stones in the past, haven't we? Have these huge, mega kind of double game week hauls, and
I've just answered a question by. I didn't even realise it was. I'm so amazed by the coincidence. I didn't even see this question from Ivan. What are your thoughts on getting Van Dijk in? And
I think he's good.
I've just literally answered it without even seeing the question. So
6.3 million, I think. So I can see the appeal in that.
Yeah, definitely. I'm very keen there. So I'm probably going to go realistically with my team because I've got KDB and Haaland. One of Alisson or Van Dijk will be coming in, I think. Realistically, I think they're the ones that got most chance of starting both matches as well. Few more questions about sort of the Salah KDB one. I mean, that's they're both good at assets, but it's impossible to answer. Only yourself can answer those questions because KDB and Salah are both great assets. Lennox says, would you consider Neil Maupay allows money for KDB? Yes, I was talking about him on General's Orders video podcast yesterday, and also lamenting at how I quite miss him as a Brighton fan because he's good. He's good fun. It's good value. He scored against Man City, so he can score against anyone. He's certainly looked better. I have not ruled out getting Neil Maupay in if I need to get an enabler because he's got a double and he plays in 26. So
and he seems to be in Thomas Frank's good books at the moment, playing up alongside a target man like Tony. I think he's good for that other attacker. Okay, lots of through balls, but he's a red card waiting to happen. So do not be surprised if he's sent off soon.
Okay, I'm going to just sort of rush through the next lot of questions because we've been going for an hour, 10 minutes. I thought this was going to be under an hour, but so we'll try and get as many of these done as possible. FPL studs, Haaland and Neto or Richarlison and Jota? Which ones would you go for? Which pairing?
Well, it's a bit odd because there's a forward in there, but Haaland one, with Neto,
Yeah, Haaland and Neto. Okay, so whichever one's got Haaland in, go for that. Team dependent. What are your thoughts? Pep talk. A bench boost in double game week 25. I mean, I would not rule that out. I think if you're not going to use a triple captain, I think there's some good fixtures there. It depends on how well stocked up when you are for doubles.
Yeah, and it depends on the pictures of the players as well.
Yeah.
That's the key in this. If you're going in, if you've got a double game week player on there, for instance, brilliant. But if you've just got players with decent fixtures, good players, sometimes playing the bench boost now before you go into your wild card and things, it can be good because it enables you to build a stronger 11.
Yeah.
Don't have to spread those funds as much. So if you can play a good bench boost in 25, I don't mind that at all.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's something you need to plan for with a bench boost. So you need to sort of wild card into a bench boost or at least plan. So I think benches won't be as good as you think they could be. If you're starting to plan for it now, so we're coming up to game week 24. So you've got game week 24 and then you're into game week 25. So if you've got a couple of duds on there, you don't really want to be spending your transfers just correcting some duds on the bench. You want to be focusing on those double game week players in the 11.
Yeah.
Really. So that's my only reason I'm not interested in that. If you had to pick one of Douglas,
No, I suppose if you could go in and you've got players like Garnacho on your bench who plays Luton in 25, and you've maybe got just trying to have a look if you had like a Botman or a Van Heck or like a cheap player, like they would be fine to bench boost in 25. So it's very team dependent.
Yeah, definitely.
I've got no problem with bench boosting, but it depends on the players.
Yeah, it does definitely. I mean, I do you know what? I haven't ruled it out. I'll have a look to see how I'm. If I'm looking at a bench and it's got Garnacho, a Brentford player, and I don't know, Saka. If I'm looking at a bench of that sort of caliber, then I'm thinking, okay, well, yeah, maybe I might do that. So, if you had to sell one of Douglas Luiz or Gross for a Liverpool asset, which one would you get rid of? That's tough because they're both. I wouldn't even know. I think they're both good players, so that's tough. You just got to flip a coin.
Yeah,
and that's not what many content creators would say.
I would probably sell Douglas Luiz, I think, before Gross, but it's really close because they've both got the set pieces.
Yeah.
Douglas Luiz has the penalties as well, which puts them a bit ahead.
Yeah, and it's also, I was just looking at the fixtures as well. Aston Villa got Manchester United, Fulham, then Nottingham Forest, Luton, Tottenham, West Ham, Wolves. In fact, from now until Gameweek 30, they're second behind Brentford in the season ticker at Fantasy
But
Football.
then Brighton are good too, aren't they?
Brighton are good, and then they go bad. So Brighton now is still good. Yeah, I mean...
Sheffield, Tottenham, Sheffield United, Everton, Fulham, Forest. They're not bad fixtures, are they? No.
Sell Gusto or Porro first for Van Heck. Okay, I didn't expect that question, but
if money isn't an issue, I'd sell Gusto first because they've got Palace and City before the blank, whereas Spurs have got 2 home games. But if you need that money,
if you need $1.5 million, then that's obvious. It's got to be Porro because you're not going to get any $1.5 million from doing Gusto to Van Heck. Areola to Flecken. RCFPL Dan.
Come up.
Yeah. I mean, I think so. I mean, it's tough with Liverpool, Man City, but he's just got a bit of a haul against Man City already. It's a double game week, and he's definitely going to get save points. Liverpool, Man City.
Yeah, he is.
And then he plays in 26. I think a lot of the analytics people. I think Seb's already got him in. He's part of that analytics crowd. He would be the optimal part of an optimal team, I would imagine.
Yeah, and they play in 29 too as well, don't they? So if you're planning to navigate that period without a free chip, which I ideally want to, again, that's another tick by his name. So spending a move on Areola to him now, as long as you're not kind of putting that move ahead of other moves, like the City triple up is the priority, I think now.
Yeah.
And double game week players from Liverpool as well. But if you've got that in place, then there's no problem with that.
And Tassos 7, the 7th Tassos has got a question. I'm gonna end with this one, but it's just saying mention our thoughts on the best time to use chips sort of now, as we're thinking. Well, it's not a question of using chips at a particular you should use bench boost here or triple captain here. It's just these are the good weeks to use a chip. 25 because it's a double game week involving Liverpool, Man City. A chip then would be good. It would give you a bit more an advantage. For example, everyone's going to be captaining Haaland, triple captain Haaland. You can get a good advantage out of that. I would say it's possible you could use a chip in 26, the blank as well, if you're not stocked up for that. Game weeks 34 and 37 are big double game weeks, or rather going to be double game weeks. 37 I think is going to be even bigger. So I would use chips there. But whether that's a wild card, whether it's a free hit, whether it's a bench boost, that's going to be totally team dependent. And you'll hear that a lot if you ask that question to people who create content. They will say it's team dependent. But overall, 25... possibly 26, but 25, 34, 37, there I think the key game weeks you need to be thinking about chips. But yeah, that's my basic.
Yeah, I think 25. I think I'm kind of considering triple captain. Then I think that could be a time to use that one. Mm-hmm. Ideally, I personally want to try and navigate 26 and 29 without using any chips. Yeah. Ideally, I don't want to. Yeah. That would then mean I can come out of 29 and play a wild card ahead of game week 34 at some point. And then you've obviously got your bench boost and your free hit, which should be in either 34 or 37. And that's the kind of the rough plan at the moment. Yeah. Certainly not set in stone, but just to give you an idea of what I'm kind of planning towards.
Yeah, I mean, Pep Talk also mentions in the live chat that Gameweek 29, as you just said, is a blank as well. So that is possible. I have used a free hit in blanks before, and it can be really good. I remember one particular week where Salah wasn't in many teams, wasn't in my team, got him in for the blank because Liverpool, one of the only good teams with a good fixture. And then he got an unbelievable return, I think. And I remember using the free hit on him for that, and that was really good.
We've only got 2 fixtures on at 29 at the moment. We've got Burnley against Brentford and Fulham against Spurs, but we will have one more added to that after the FA Cup tomorrow, we think. Either Arsenal, Chelsea, or West Ham Villa. And the need, I think the Villa one fixture, the team needs to win in the 5th round of the FA Cup as well. But Spurs look like good bets. Yeah. So after 26, after their blank, they look like a good team to invest in.
Yeah. Yeah. So, I mean, looking at that, so you could go into Game Week 29 with 7 players, 8 players. But if you've got Richarlison as your captain, or Son indeed, if he's back, and then you've got...
That's the key.
If one of Arsenal or Chelsea, I think it's Arsenal, Villa, Arsenal or Chelsea or West Ham, I think, are in the mix for... There's going to be they're either going to play or blank. So, for example, if Saka's there, so if you've already got those key players, then you can save your free hit because you've already got those key players. But if you're lacking those key players, then that could be a good time to use a free hit.
Yeah, I think with a bit like last season, you've got to choose your battles. You're not going to be able to attack every single game week 110%. There's got to be some weeks where you say, well, I'm just going to do enough to kind of hold rank. And 29 might be that week where, like you say, you might not have 11 players, but providing you've got the 4 or 5 big owned players, be it Richarlison or Porro from Spurs, or if Tony's popular for going to Burnley, that kind of thing, that's probably a week where I'm thinking, I'm not going to go up in rank a lot. I'm just going to hold it, and then have that free hit for a big double. Be it 34 or 37. I think 37 is going to be the big double. 34 will be a bit smaller, and there will be some blanks in 34 as well. But I think I would like a free hit available for that rather than 29.
I would as well. And going back to that point I made about getting Salah in on a free hit in a very blank game week, it's targeting those key players really. If your team has got them, or you can easily get them with maybe just a hit, then you're fine. But if you can't, then it can be really advantageous to do that, to really just focus on those good teams. But there's not that many good teams I don't think are going to play in 29. There'll be some, like Spurs, but City probably won't, for example. Liverpool won't.
Well, we say won't, probably won't.
Probably won't. So
Man United won't, I don't think.
Yeah, so some of those players that could do really well won't. And if you're left with the likes of Crystal Palace, then you're using a free hit to get Crystal Palace players in, and that doesn't feel right. Okay, thanks everyone for joining us in the live chat. We'll try to answer as many questions as we can. Good luck with the game week. Good luck with your decisions. Good luck with the doubles coming up and the blank. I myself am finding it quite hard to get my head around it, so I might just not. I might just get Van Dijk in and just be done. And it's quite tricky. Good luck with your game week, Tom, and we'll see you again next week.
Thanks, Joe.